Welcome to today's show. Today I'm going to be breaking down the Jacksonville Jaguars this offseason in 2019. I'll be covering different offseason details that this team is going through, such as people that are going to be heading towards free agency, my opinion of who they should re-sign or let go, possibly trade. There's recent news for these Jacksonville Jaguars that are very intriguing, and let's begin. Just to start off, the list of free agents that the Jacksonville Jaguars have. Starting at the running back position, halfback position, we've got T.J. Yeldon and Corey Grant. As far as this group of running backs, we've got about, I'd say, three different starters based on different years in their career, with Fournette, T.J. Yeldon, and Carlos Hyde. All are capable of starting, but as far as whether to keep T.J. Yeldon or Corey Grant, I would indeed release T.J. Yeldon and try and re-sign Corey Grant to a one-year deal. As far as Carlos Hyde, there is news that the team is pursuing a trade for him. It's very unlikely that they'll get anything for him, considering they traded a sixth-round pick to the Cleveland Browns this past season to acquire him, and if anything, it would be a next year seventh-round pick kind of deal. On the tight end position, there's James Shaughnessy, Blake Bell, and Austin Seferian-Jenkins. The only person I would re-sign out of this group, because you also have Ben Koyak and Pharaoh McKever on the roster, I would release everybody except for Austin Seferian-Jenkins. Austin Seferian-Jenkins only played 5 games this past season with the Jags. Didn't have good numbers, had 11 receptions, 90 yards, but it was his first year in the system, and I do expect him to have a much better year, obviously, next year, since he'll be coming back from injury. The Jaguars have declined his option on his contract, but they have not negated the option of him returning to the team, and I do think that he will be a valuable starter, or in some cases, a valuable backup. On the offensive line, you have Eric Flowers, formerly of New York Giants. You have Josh Wells, a longtime backup for the team. Patrick Maye was a left guard starter for the Jaguars' championship run in 2017. Tyler Shatley, another center slash guard that has been a backup for a couple years with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And they got A.J. Cann, the starting right guard of the Jaguars, with Josh Walker, guard slash tackle. I played for numerous teams from the Texans, Packers, and Jaguars. Corey Robinson, a backup not tight end, but a right tackle that's played for the Lions and Jaguars. The only offensive lineman that I would re-sign in this case is Eric Flowers. Reason being is because he did play better than he has in the past. And as a backup, you can have some solid swing tackle options with him. Josh Wells, same thing, so it's really good if they're in that situation where they can pick either Eric Flowers or Josh Wells. I would go with Eric Flowers. As far as Patrick Maye, this past season, the previous offseason, I was wanting the Jaguars to have A.J. Cann be a backup and them to re-sign Maye to start at right guard. Patrick Maye went to the Giants for a couple of games, returned to the Jacksonville Jaguars later in the season. He did start for a couple games. Didn't quite play as well as he did the year before, but he did play good. And I think he's a guy that can come in as a backup if he's a swing guard. Tyler Shatley, I wouldn't re-sign him. It's not that he's a bad player, it's just we can get better options at the position. For example, we've still got Chris Reed on the roster, so no need to re-sign Shatley. As far as wide receivers are concerned, they have Dante Moncrief and Rashad Green Sr. I would release both of them. Originally, when Dante Moncrief came over to the Jags from the Colts, I said as long as Dante Moncrief gets at least 1,000 yards in his 1-year, $10 million contract, then I would be open to re-signing him. He didn't. He got 600. It was close, but not good enough. Release him, get some cap room back. Rashad Green, former 5th-round pick, never did anything. He's a returner, but you've got Jadon Mickens, and if you re-sign Corey Grant, another option there, so no need to re-sign him. As far as fullback, Tommy Bohannon will be a free agent this year. He's a good fullback, not a well-known name, but he does a good job, and he has done a good job for the Jaguars and Jets during the time he's played. But recently signed uh, free agent Dimitri Flowers is younger than Tommy Bohannon, and he can come in, and I think he'll be earning the starting job for the Jaguars this next season, allowing Tommy Bohannon to go elsewhere. On the defensive side, the only free agent that the Jaguars have on the defensive side is Tyler Patman. They did release Barry Church earlier, just a few weeks ago before the season ended. He would technically be considered a free agent, but he's not on this roster as of right now. Barry Church had just had a very bad year. I think he could return to the Cowboys or go and start somewhere else. He's not a bad player. He's a very good run stopper, and he had a very good year the year before, which he should have made the Pro Bowl. Other notable free agents on the special teams unit is Josh Lambo. He was re-signed recently to a multi-year contract. Long snapper Matt Overton, who came in place of Carson Tinker. The last 2 years, Carson Tinker's been out. Filled in well. I expect him to be a free agent as well. Not to resign him to keep Carson Tinker, who is trying to be the best long snapper in the league. Let him continue to play and earn that right to be that kind of player. As far as free agents are concerned, Blake Bortles has not been declared a free agent, but he will be. You can count on my words on that one. He just didn't earn the right to be returning to the team for next year. As far as quarterbacks are concerned, notable quarterbacks that will be available in the free agent class is Nick Foles, Sam Bradford, Tyler Taylor, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Teddy Bridgewater. The only two quarterbacks out of this free agent class for the Jaguars this offseason that I would go to are either Nick Foles or Sam Bradford. Originally, I was thinking Tyler Taylor and Teddy Bridgewater would be a good fit, but it looks like this team is going towards a more pocket passer kind of team, thanks to the newly signed John DeFilippo, coming from the Minnesota Vikings to be their new offensive coordinator, and he likes pocket passers. So Nick Foles and Sam Bradford are both guys that would be good fits, in my opinion. As far as wide receiver is concerned, DJ Chark was a second-round pick this past season. Terrible pick, in my opinion. I never liked the pick. He was compared to a Randy Moss with his size and speed. Didn't play like it. Had less than 200 yards, so he has to really step up. As far as wide receivers in this free agent class, I wouldn't go after anybody except for Antonio Brown, and that would just require a lot of just maneuvering and making stuff happen just to get the guy on our team. And the fact that Antonio Brown is 30 just almost makes it not worth it, especially with his off-season, off-of-field, attitude and issues. Just may not be worth it for the Jaguars. As far as tight end, like I said, I would resign Austin Seferian-Jenkins, but other tight ends that will be available would be, you got Jared Cook, you've got Tyler Eifert, Jesse James, Tyler Croft, Zach Miller, who actually played for the Jaguars early on in his career. Same with Mercedes Lewis. The only tight end that I would go after is Jesse James. He's 25 years old. He's been very consistent as a backup for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This past season he had a little bit more than 400 yards. This is the receiving type tight end, but John DeFilippo really knows how to make tight ends work in his offense. From Zach Ertz when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles to with the Minnesota Vikings, you had Kyle Rudolph, longtime tight end for that team as well. It's possible that Austin Seferian-Jenkins could have a similar role as the feature tight end for this offense if he's re-signed, but if he's not, I would go with Jesse James. As far as offensive line is concerned, with the re-signings of Eric Flowers, Patrick Mai, and possibly Josh Wallace, that should take care of depth as far as offensive line is concerned. Yeah, the Jacksonville Jaguars had at least four starting offensive linemen out for this past season, which really hurt their offense overall. Having those guys back automatically makes the team better. But I believe that AJ Cann has to go. He is not a good offensive lineman. He's probably better as a backup. And I see the Jaguars going in the draft for a right guard in this case. As far as defense is concerned, you have the defensive tackle issue with cap room. But recently, Marcel Darius did renegotiate his contract to allow $5 million to come to the team. But Malik Jackson, the team is actually pursuing a trade for Malik Jackson as well. Probably a third through fifth round pick kind of a deal that the Jaguars could possibly make. Still unlikely, but it would be nice for the Jaguars if they were able to make a trade happen. As far as their left outside linebacker, Leon Jacobs, he was a former 7th round pick this past season. He played okay. He's more of a special teams type player, so for the Jaguars, if you're looking to sign a linebacker in free agency, it more than likely means that Miles Jack is going to have to move back to outside linebacker, which is fine. That's where he plays best. But that means you're probably going to be signing a middle linebacker. A middle linebacker that I would go with, as far as if the Jaguars decide to go towards that route, is a name like Jordan Hicks, Quan Alexander, Preston Brown. You could even go to a hybrid linebacker where Michael Kendricks, who played with the Browns and Seahawks this past season, or a Thomas Davis and Anthony Barr. These are guys that can play multiple positions, and that's what the Jaguars like out of their linebackers, is the versatility to play multiple positions. That's definitely something that Miles Jack provided, and it's definitely something that Blair Brown, the backup, can provide, and same with Lawrence McCray, in which he's a linebacker slash defensive end. As far as Tyler Patman, their lone free agent on the defensive side is concerned, I would re-sign him. He's a very good backup. He can play the slot very well. He had a great playoff time just 2 years ago when he was shutting down wide receivers against the Bills in their wild card round. And I think this is a guy that, ever since I've been watching this guy come out when he started with the Cowboys in preseason, I knew this guy was definitely someone that could work his way to being a role type player. This team's not far from going back to the playoffs. Are they a Super Bowl team next year? It depends. A lot went right for the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2017, and a lot went wrong for the Jaguars in 2018. I personally believe that if the Jaguars do sign Nick Foles and get some solid depth and a new right guard on their offensive line, that automatically makes for offense way better. As far as their wide receivers are concerned, they do need a number one receiver, a spotlight receiver like a Dez Bryant. Not saying Dez Bryant is the option, but if they do decide to go in free agency for a wide receiver, you could certainly go with Antonio Brown, of course. Another option you could go is a John Brown, a Devin Funchess, a Randall Cobb, those kind of guys that have proven themselves in the past, whereas they might have not had their best season this past year, but they've had very good seasons before, and they can come in at the number one spot, and you don't have to worry about drafting somebody early on in the draft for this upcoming season. Special teams, it's a good special teams unit. I'm not worried about that special teams, especially if they re-sign Tyler Patman. This is a team that really suffered from injuries last year. They were 5-11, whereas they went 10-6 previous year when they barely had any injuries at all. It just goes to show how significant injuries can impact the team, and we can only hope that the Jacksonville Jaguars don't have to have those kinds of injuries again for next season. Thank you for listening to the show, and we look forward to watching what unfolds. Thank you.